Hey guys, Martin here bringing you a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at the AGL Captain Ginyu EZA. We're doing it a little bit differently than I would for some of these showcases because the only 220 lead that Ginyu has is the physical mercenary Tao, or probably the reason why he's got the EZA in the celebration, right? Because Ginyu Force are all on mission execution, but I did not pull Tao. And also, Tao is not on Ginyu's leader skill, so we can't run a Ginyu friend. So I've had to struggle to find an event where we could actually find a Captain Ginyu guest to run. So we've got our boy here, Rainbow Captain Ginyu. We've obviously got Jeice Burter and Rakuman Guldo on the team as well. So we're going to check them out and see how we get on. Ginyu, of course, does stack defense. He raises attack for 1 turn, does immense damage. And then he gets attack and defense 200%, additional attack with a high chance to become a super, 20% damage reduction, gives Ginyu Force allies 1 key, attack and defense 60%, and chance to crit 20%. When attacking with 12 or more key, he gets attack and defense 150%. Per Ginyu Force ally on the team, and it doesn't say self-excluded, so it does mean him, attack and defense 20% up to 100%. Now this is the one that if you're running him on a Tao team, you're not really going to be running like a full Ginyu setup, right? You're going to have Ginyu, Rakuman Guldo, Jeice Burter potentially. That's 3. Maybe the LR Ginyu Force. We're going to try them out here and see how they keep up with this kind of event. And now obviously on this team for us, we've then also got the friend Ginyu. So we do actually have the full 100%. But you're not usually going to get this unless they do bring out more buffs for the Ginyu Force. So hopefully that makes up for a little bit for the fact that he's not on the not getting a 220 lead in this video. But when there's another Ginyu Force ally on the team, so that is good. They just have to be on the team. Attacks effective against all types and a high chance to launch an additional super. And then for 1 turn from his entry turn or when HP is 70% or more, chance to crit and damage reduction 30%. So that means he does have 50% damage reduction on the first turn and then whenever you're above 70% at the start of the turn, which is good. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we get on. Obviously, we can transform into Goku Ginyu when HP is 70% or less, starting from the 4th turn. And then we're going to go ahead and I guess this is a really good starting rotation. So we do have the Rakuman Guldo, 200% attack and defense, 30% damage reduction, great chance to guard, seals the enemy super attack. Now that would be a little bit awkward, but obviously if we skip right down to the bottom straight away, as long as we have an ally whose name includes Ginyu in the same turn, they don't have a chance to guard, they just have guard, right? And then they get extra damage reduction before attacking, so in slot 1 they've got 60% damage reduction. They also get a guaranteed stun if possible. So then they also have when guard is activated, well, after guard is activated, so usually that means when the first hit, it's one of those wordings, right, where the first hit does more damage. Then they get 100% defense. Then they can get an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super. When they attack with 12 or more key, they get 50% extra attack and defense. And then for every attack received, they get attack and defense 20% up to 100. So, be interesting to see what they're looking like when they're fully stacked up. They do greatly raise defense on their super as well. So they're at 343k start of turn. Ginyu starts off at 418. And we'll see how the LR gets on here as well. Because obviously, in this event in particular, we know that Vegeta always super attacks in slot 1. This isn't the event I would have ideally done, but this is where we are. This is the only one where a guest Ginyu came up. So we get hit once, we get our defensive buff, as well as 1 activation of our passive. And then we take double digits from the super. That's not too bad. Obviously Vegeta needs to build up before he does his full damage anyway. But we can take a bunch of hits here on turn 1. Get these guys passive built up. 9 million attack stat. I mean, that's obviously not anything too crazy, but these guys are supposed to be like the slot 1 tank for this team with Ginyu, or even on Tao's team like with Ginyu. So we're not too bothered by their attack stats really. So Ginyu turn 1, 22 mil. Now bear in mind, we are also getting a load of support from the LR Ginyu Force unit, which we're not necessarily going to be using in some situations. Alright, we'll see in this one, I guess, whether they can still kind of hang. So we got 1 additional super from his passive, and then not the other. That's, I think, probably the biggest downside for this Ginyu, is that he's a stacker, and he has the potential to get 2 additional supers, but they're both only high chance when he's in base. So the big problem with a stacking unit is obviously going to be if they're not getting additional supers, like are they going to be stacking quickly enough to be good enough in some of these tougher events, right? We also have the problem of the other slot 1 unit. I didn't even realise straight away. The other slot 1 unit for the team was Full Power Frieza, who was in slot 7. So that's really annoying. So we have Jeice and Burter on rotation here. They have 200% attack and defense, additional attack with a high chance to become a super, 70% chance to dodge, and then they give Space Traveling Warriors or Special Pose 3 key 40%. For every attack performed, they get 50% attack and defense up to 200. When receiving a super, they get an extra 10% chance to dodge. And then when there's an ally whose name includes Ginyu in the turn, they get an extra 10% chance to dodge before receiving an attack, and give all allies attack and defense 30% for 2 turns, which is really good. So if we put them in slot 1 here, this means that they actually have 90% chance to dodge a super and 80% to dodge a normal, like before receiving the first attack, which is pretty good. So we'll go ahead and do this. Obviously we know he's going to super in slot 1. They have a 90% chance to dodge the super in slot 1. So there's the dodge the normal as well. Take 1 though, 217k. Oof. And then 5 million. Yikes. I mean, obviously they're not here, they're not supposed to be a damage dealer, but damn, that is also remember when we see these numbers, right, like the 22 into 23 for Ginyu, this is on double 200% leads, right, and not a 220 team. So people, I think, were a little bit underwhelmed by the sub-EZAs for the Recoome, Guldo and Jeice Burter when they saw them on paper. And bear in mind that in this run, they're obviously on this lower leader skill, right, the 200%. But Friend Ginyu 24 million additional here is pretty good. Obviously, Jeice Burter giving tons of support. The fact that they have that 2-turn support is really, really good, because Recoome and Guldo got hit, what, 4 times in the first turn? So they should have pretty good start of turn defense on this next turn, with the fact that they're going to have the Jeice and Burter 2-turn support factored into that as well. 0. Good old Namek Vegeta. This guy is so bad. Obviously doesn't fit super great with these guys anyway, but what can you do for Namek Saga? I thought, you know, he's extreme, we'll throw him on here, see how we get on. But okay, so Recoome and Guldo, yeah, start of turn 666k defense, and bear in mind before, like when they're in slot 1, right, they're getting 60% damage reduction, so that's quite a lot. Like it's not going to be enough to tank like the toughest bosses in the game, I don't think, but either way it's not terrible. And then Ginyu after 1 turns at 655. I mean, again, that's not crazy, but he also, if we start the turn at, we were above 70%, we're at 70% HP, right, because I didn't pick up STR orbs for these guys. So we do have the extra damage reduction for Ginyu still. But yeah, take double-digit damage. Get those hits in. They're at 11 million now. It's not, again, not great, but not terrible for a unit that's meant to be just a slot 1 tank, right? They're not on the team to do damage, so I'm not going to like judge them harshly for only having like an 11 million attack stat, right? Because that's not why you use them. We're using them for the fact that they are here to tank. They got a triple super, so that's triple greatly raise. Like, at this point, they would actually be able to tank relatively well. Although I suppose they lose 30% damage reduction when they attack. So, whilst their defense goes up by a decent amount, they're only then going to have 30% damage reduction instead of 60. So, what would have been really good for them is like greatly raise attack and defense for 3 turns as their super attack effect. Because then when they come around on the next turn, they have that buff still. So then when they get hit in slot 1, their defense is still going to be like up at potentially around 1 million or more, but with the 60% damage reduction. That would be really good. Still not necessarily enough to tank some of the biggest supers, but although I'm not sure, because like they still took double-digit damage in slot 1, right, when it was the first attack. So Maybe it does proc straight away. I mean, it should. That's how these things should be, like, characters should be done, right? We don't want these characters where they have to get hit once and then their defense goes up. Because if that first hit is a super and then they get absolutely destroyed, well, that's not what we want to see, right? So this Ginyu's only been on one rotation. He's at 742k. Obviously, we've got plenty of time because this Vegeta has so much HP. So we don't really need to worry about, like, oh, we got to transform, otherwise the event's going to be over and we don't get to see Ginyu Goku. So, yeah, these guys, obviously the more attacks they perform, the more they build up their passive. So they took a bit less damage from a normal that they didn't dodge this time around. They dodged the super, which is the important part. But that's crazy because that shows you, like, they took that hit and took 100k with a 90% chance to dodge. So it shows you that no matter how high your dodge chance is, like, we're just lucky that that was the normal and not the super. But yeah, 25 mil for Ginyu. I mean, I think if Ginyu stacked attack and defense, like, he would be significantly better. I mean, Tech Kale and Caulifla just came out and they stack attack and defense. Like, why are we not doing that for Ginyu? Especially when you then give him this passive where he's limited by a very specific category of characters who aren't, you know, particularly top tier anymore. And then even with these new sub EZAs, like, it's not a crazy team setup running loads of Ginyu Force units. So, like, if this guy's going to be restricted to, like, a very specific few team builds, I feel like that's one of the reasons why they should make the units a lot better. That's the thing, I don't mind a unit. I think I've said this before, right? When it comes to, like, restrictions and stuff, a unit could be so heavily restricted that they're literally only runnable on one team. And I would be fine with it as long as on that one team, they're, like, the best unit in the game, or, like, close to, right? Because then the restrictions at least are worthwhile. Like, it's worth it that they're restricted because they're so good. It's like when Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito first came out for Heroes. A lot of people, myself included, argued that he was the best TUR, and even put him on, like, tier lists with Dokkan Fest TURs, because even though he's not technically a Dokkan Fest, he has his own event with the 77 medals, and he was on the level. He was the #1, like, Dokkan Fest TUR when he came out. And then people would say, like, oh, but you can only run him on the Heroes team. And it's like, that was the one sort of, like, anomaly year where the Heroes team came out, and then largely, I guess, because of Vegito being so good, Rose was good on release, the Heroes team could, like, dominate all the content that was out at the game at the time. And so it didn't really matter that you could only use him on the Heroes team, because that team could beat every event in the game, and on that team, like, no other Dokkan Fest TUR was doing what he was doing on turn 1. Right, so if Ginyu, for example, with this restriction of needing to have the Ginyu Force allies to get the extra stats, I don't like the fact that he only has high chance to get additional supers. Like, they gave Tech Kale and Caulifla, as long as there's a Universe Survival Saga ally, which is a way bigger, like, they could have made that Universe 6, for example. That would be as restrictive as, like, Ginyu Force. But Universe Survival Saga has a whole bunch of viable options, and then they get a guaranteed additional super. Whereas Ginyu, at best, gets high chance to additional super in his base. We'll go over what Ginyu Goku does, because obviously he has slightly higher chances of doing these things. But it's just like, that's the kind of example, right? If Ginyu is going to be restricted to being run on a team with the Ginyu Force, like, sub-EZAs at the bare minimum, and realistically, like, what teams are you running him on outside of, like, trying to make a team like this work with his leader skill, Tao's team, and then, other than that, like, what sort of setup realistically are you going to run? On that kind of, with that kind of thing being the example, like, make him insanely busted. Like, why not? Okay, so, I mean, if I do the heal here, that does, if I do the transformation, it does heal us. So, the problem is, of course, I mean, we don't stack attack. So we're never going to see, like, crazy high attack stats from this guy if we don't get him transformed. So I guess let's go ahead and get the first Ginyu Goku out here, because then at least we can get a bit of a heal. Full Power Frieza should be okay in slot 1, I think. And then we can see what Ginyu Goku is doing.
range. We've made a trade. Your body is mine now.
Ginyu Goku. So Ginyu Goku, 746k defense start of turn. So he has recover 59% HP once only. Key 1, HP attack and defense 250. Launch an additional attack that has a great chance to become a super, so now 70%. Attacks effective against all types and just straight up has the 50% damage reduction. When attacking, 150 extra attack, chance to crit 50%, great chance of launching an additional super. When receiving an attack, 150% extra defense, and then chance to dodge 50%. When there's an ally whose name includes Jeice on the team, foresees enemy super attacks. And now his super attack greatly raises attack and causes immense damage to the enemy. So he now infinitely stacks attack. We have the Scouter, so we can see, surprise, surprise, that the super is the first attack of the turn. So if we go ahead and do that, so he gets 150% defense when he gets hit, right? So if we calculate that here very quickly, so his defense is what? 746, 499. So then plus 150%. So when he gets hit, he has 1.8 million defense and has 50% damage reduction. So that means he can tank a super that's up to like 4 mil, I guess, like without dying. Because that would drop down to 4 mil, would drop down to 2 with 50% damage reduction. So then he'd be taking like 140k. So 2.5 million if he was on full health, I guess, or like 4.5 to 5 million. If he was on full health, you would not die, but you'd still take loads of damage. So this is the thing, right? In longer events where you can, you want to be stacking this guy for as much as possible, because then when you transform into the Ginyu Goku, you don't stack attack anymore. So, but yeah, full power Frieza had like almost 1 million defense here. So he should be fine in slot 1. 184k is not ideal, but still fine. That's the one good thing with the Vegeta event when it comes to testing out teams and stuff, is if you're testing out a unit that isn't a slot 1, as long as you have a good slot 1 for the rotation, you know you're going to be mostly fine, because outside of slot 1, Vegeta's going to only do normals, realistically. So with that kind of defense that we're just saying, right, he's going to have 1.86 million when he takes a hit, with 50% damage reduction. Like, he's not taking damage from this Vegeta's normals, like, at all. So let's see what we get up to here on the first turn. We were at what, about 25 mil to 26 was the highest we saw from base Ginyu. So he starts off at 15. I guess because he loses he doesn't have the like extra buff per Ginyu Force ally anymore, I guess. And then he goes up to 16.9. I wish he stacked attack faster than that. Like, the fact that you're going to have a whole turn, and potentially the next turn as well, where he's doing less attack stat than he was doing before transforming, feels kind of disappointing. I mean, he did get the 3 supers, and we got the hidden potential. So actually, that was like his god RNG turn. The 4 supers, 19 mil. But he doesn't raise defense for the turn on super, right? Or did I completely forget that? I just read what it did, but like, because then post super, like on a 4 super turn, he would actually be probably close to being invincible, even if it was only raised defense like the 30%, right? Because 700, he was at about 750k. Then you have like the 30% raise a few times, then 150% when he gets hit. Like, his defense is going to be like 3 million or something, like potentially higher with the 50% damage reduction. That would be really, really good, especially as a unit who's not really ideally going to be for slot 1. Like, he would be so good at that point. But let's see, what are you at? This Ginyu's at 1.43 already now. These guys are now fully built up. We can't well, actually it doesn't even matter. I was going to say we can't transform with this Ginyu anyway because our HP is too high. That's the other issue, I suppose, is the fact that, yeah, you can't transform unless you lose a bunch of HP. So there's going to be some situations, I guess, on certain team builds and stuff where you don't actually even get to see Ginyu Goku, which would be awkward. Like, this Ginyu's now just going to be able to keep stacking defense, but ideally, eventually, we want to see Ginyu Goku come out. Because he has the 50% damage reduction always, regardless of your HP. So if his defense was able to build up to a certain, like, high enough number, especially because he gets the 150 when he gets hit, Like, he could actually go slot 1, like, once he's transformed, depending on, you know, how hard the enemy hits for. I'm not sure how hard this Vegeta hits for with his super. Is it 4 mil? Be interesting to see whether he could actually take a slot 1 super from this guy. Let's see. Prince, challenge, Goku story, red zone, and then Vegeta. Yeah, so he does, his super does 1.1, but he can build up to 3. Yeah, so his super does like 4.4 million. So 4.4 million minus 50% is 2.2. So if he was going up to like, what was it, 1.8 million or something, he's going to take like 400k. Although there is the super versus extreme modifier as well. So then we start talking about potentially quite a big bit of damage. And Vegeta with the 1-turn orb change. You'd love to see that. Yeah, he gets a permanent attack buff, doesn't he? Right, let's turn those off. Do that. Do that, because why not?
Dirty fireworks.
Yeah, it's crazy how much HP this Vegeta has. So we'll do that. And then do this. Do this. Oh, so like... My bad, I'm so used to units on teams actually like working well together that I just assumed Ginyu would only need 1 key to super. Oh, and Frieza just got annihilated by... Oh, well, there you go. I mean... What more can I say? Like, Vegeta... He seems like he could be okay, but like, remember, this was on a 200% team instead of 220, but with enough Ginyu Force allies to have his full passive buff, which you won't get on some other setups. And yeah, like the fact that his attack stat dropped significantly after transforming because he doesn't have the same buffs anymore, then you've got to start rebuilding that attack. I mean, there are situations where I could see him being good, but man, if he just had raised defense for 1 turn, like post super as a slot 2 unit, he could be so good, but he just seems like a bit of a fumble. A bit disappointing, way too restricted, because like unless we get more Ginyu Force team buffs, which in this celebration I made a video about the other day, but it's like realistically what are those buffs going to be? Physical Ginyu, LR, Super EZA potentially, maybe the tech one, and then if like the part 2 LR is another Ginyu Force unit of some kind, whether it's like standalone Guldo or like a Ginyu Goku, like starting from Ginyu Goku, like that would be helpful for Ginyu and the team setup, but like realistically, when that banner comes out, it's like 2 weeks till the global Dokkan campaign, so no one should be summoning on that banner, which means you're not going to get the unit that then completes the team for Ginyu. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of Captain Ginyu's EZA down below in the comment section. When the private server gets updated, because I did think about trying him out on Tao's team on the private server, but because the data download was late, the one that I use doesn't have the update on it yet. So I guess we'll try him out on Tao's team in a different event for a video, hopefully tomorrow. But let me know what you guys think of Captain Ginyu down below in the comment section. Rakuma and Guldo did perfectly fine. I mean, they tanked double digits in slot 1 all the way through. Jeice Burter came in clutch, getting some slot 1 dodges and gave a decent bit of support. So whilst they're not the craziest supports, or like the craziest units for the teams, like they're pretty good. Jeice Burter obviously will be a huge liability against bosses that disable dodge. But other than that, let me know what you guys think of the Ginyu Force EZAs down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.